On the outskirts of a small town stood the forsaken old mill house, an eerie testament to the passage of time. Locals avoided it, whispering about the ghostly occurrences that plagued its halls. No one had lived there for over 50 years, ever since the tragic death of Margaret, the miller's enigmatic wife. Her lifeless body had been found at the foot of the grand staircase, her neck unnaturally twisted, her eyes wide with terror, as if witnessing something horrid just before her demise. Margaret's story was one of beauty shrouded in sorrow. She was a bride from another town, married to a cold and distant man. Despite her grace, a profound sadness clung to her. Rumors buzzed about an illicit love she shared with a young farmhand. Some believed her death was not misfortunate, but a crime of passion, leaving her spirit ensnared in the house that bore witness to her suffering. One stormy night, a group of teenagers, driven by bravado and curiosity, dared to venture into Old Mill House. Flashlights in hand, they navigated through the wild, overgrown garden and pried open the creaking front door. Inside, the air was icy, carrying the stench of mildew and rot. Dust particles hovered, and the house moaned under its own age. As they delved deeper, odd occurrences began to unsettle them. Doors creaked open on their own, and phantom footsteps echoed in the hollow halls. Initially, the group laughed off the eerie sensations, blaming the wind or their overactive imaginations. However, the atmosphere grew tense as they neared the old staircase. Jack, one of the boys, felt a sudden chill. His flashlight flickered as he approached the steps. "Did you feel that?" he whispered, his voice tight with apprehension. Although the others shook their heads, unease rippled through the group. Suddenly, the sound of soft, mournful sobbing floated down the stairs, growing louder and more desperate by the second. A girl's trembling voice cut through the tense silence. "Who's there?" But there was no reply, only the heart-wrenching sobs that seemed to close in on them. "Let's get out of here," Jack urged, backing away. But before they could move, the front door slammed shut with an explosive bang. The windows rattled as the storm's fury raged outside. Then they saw her. At the top of the staircase stood the apparition of a woman in a white dress, her long dark hair masking her face. Her body contorted, her neck bent grotesquely. She raised her head, her eyes wide and filled with anguish. Her mouth opened, but no sound emerged, just the oppressive weight of her ghostly presence. The group bolted to the door, yanking at it in panic, but it refused to budge. The spectral figure began to descend, her movements jagged and unnatural, like a puppet on invisible strings. Her eyes locked onto them, silently pleading for release from her eternal nightmare. Just as the clock struck midnight, the teenagers gathered their courage and ventured into the infamous Old Mill House. The air was heavy with anticipation, each creak and groan of the ancient structure sending chills down their spines. Stories of the house's dark past whispered through the town, but their curiosity got the better of them. Margaret's tragic tale was well known, a sorrowful spirit confined to the house after her untimely death. Step by step, they descended the creaky staircase, hearts pounding in their chests. The air grew colder with each step, and a somber silence enveloped them. As they reached the bottom step, the door flew open with a force that startled them, and they tumbled outside in a hurried scramble. They didn't dare to look back, their feet pounding against the cobblestone path as they fled from the house's eerie grasp. The night was dark and still, only the rustling leaves and the distant hoot of an owl breaking the silence. The teenagers never spoke of that night again. The fear and confusion that gripped them proved too powerful, leaving a permanent scar on their memories. From that night on, Old Mill House became a forbidden topic, a place to be avoided at all costs. Unease lingered in their hearts, and they couldn't shake the feeling that the house's dark shadow followed them. Years went by, but the legend of Old Mill House continued to echo through the town. Whenever the wind blew just right, an ethereal sound would drift through the air, sending shivers down the spines of those who dared to listen. Some swore they could hear the unmistakable sound of a woman crying, a mournful wail that spoke of endless torment. Margaret's sorrowful spirit seemed forever bound to the decaying walls, her suffering a constant reminder of the house's sinister secrets. Every townsperson knew the story of Margaret, the beautiful and kind woman who had met a tragic end within those dreadful walls. Her spirit, restless and inconsolable, wandered the room she once called home. It was said that she waited for someone to release her, to bring peace to her tormented soul. But fear kept the curious at bay, as no one dared to step foot in Old Mill House once they knew its macabre history. The house stood as a silhouette against the moonlit sky, an imposing structure that held centuries of sorrow. Despite its grandeur, it exuded an aura of despair that repelled any visitors. No one wanted to be the next to fall under its curse or face Margaret's wrath. The haunted house remained a chilling enigma, its tragic occupant awaiting redemption, while the town carried on, haunted by ghosts of the past. Legends persisted, and the curiosity of new generations arose, but Old Mill House remained a somber reminder of pain and loss, until someone brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough, ventured to confront Margaret's restless spirit. The house would continue to exude sorrow and fear. Meanwhile, under the watchful eyes of the moon and stars, Margaret's cries echoed in the night, a haunting melody that no one could ever forget.